What's up, everyone? Welcome to 49ers Coast to Coast. We're your hosts, Grant Cohn and Jason Aponte. How you doing, Jason?
Great. Sorry that I was late trying to get through traffic, navigate. My barber took a little too while to get my hair cut today, so I'm
Looks
glad to
good,
be
though.
here at least. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Well, we made it.
Plus, you owe me one. I was late for you last night. I totally forgot. Jason was like, come on my show on Wednesday night. I was like, yeah, Thursday night sounds good. And then I forgot. I make some
Well,
mistakes like that. But anyway, it was
hey,
fun when I got on there.
I was gonna say if it makes you feel any better, we started the show talking about you and how you were the reason that we had the cold take edition because of the interaction that you had with
Oh,
with,
that was
with Rob. And then you popped right in at the right time. It worked out perfectly, man. You're a working man. It's all good. We get it.
the cold take thing is a great idea, and I'm going to steal it. I'm going to do it on my
Yeah.
channel. I'm going to try to go because I thought of so many bad takes in my life, and I think there's more I could do. So it was great. It's a new conversation.
The only thing that saved me was the fact that I've only been on this app for 3 years, so there hasn't been this large amount because they were going all the way back to like 2006, and I was like, oh my god! But I've only been on the app for a little while, so my cold takes are there. Made sure I stood in the box and took them. Talked about Justin Fields, talked about all those other ones, and hey, that's it. Move on. It's done.
Check out the podcast if you haven't already. It's on the Niners Nation Podcast Network. All right, so the topic of today's show is among the recognized, kind of like in your yearbook. See, here's the way it works on my channel. The guests are free to send me ideas beforehand if they want to, go through things and plan. If they don't, then it's on me to come up with the ideas, and I spring them to you live on air. Maybe that's more fun. We did it last time. It worked out quite well, and that's how we're going to do it today.
And I trust you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take you anywhere too weird, but today I'm thinking like awards because I've been awfully negative recently. I'd like to, give out some recognition to players who deserve it. And since it's mid-June, this is kind of like yearbook time. Remember in high school, among the recognized, did your high school do that where it was like most likely to succeed, most responsible? Okay.
Yes.
So do stuff like that. Did you win anything in high school?
Best eyes.
Best eyes. Nice.
That has nothing to do with anything of my future or what was going to put me it wasn't most likely to succeed, wasn't class clown or anything like that, but whatever, it is what it is. I won something.
What do you think I won?
Class clown.
Best athlete.
Most likely to succeed.
No. Biggest flirt.
Biggest flirt.
So
those pictures of you with the fedora and the popped up collar kind of
that was from college, but yeah, it was kind
of
the same. It was the same phase. From 16 to 21, you wouldn't have liked me. I don't think I would have liked me. I was the most obnoxious kid. I wasn't bad, but I was like super obnoxious. Over the top.
In what way? If we're talking sports, you're just straight up like, shut up, you have no idea what you're talking about type stuff, or...
I was the same way, but the way I presented myself was I was like a clown. Like I had the chin strap, I had the faux hawk, I had the super big Cooper zirconia earrings. I made like all the mistakes you could make, but I was like, it's what they said to do in that book, The Game. You know what I mean? You're supposed to peacock and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll try my best. Anyway, so that was me. That's my story. Anyway, so let's get into among the rec. I don't know how I won biggest flirt. I guess it was a reputation I built when I was like 15 or 16, which is like, but anyway, that's where I was. It wasn't the most prestigious thing. If I give out other non-prestigious awards, just remember that that's what I got in high school. So let's start with something positive. The worst starter on the offense.
Why on earth? See, you said this was going to be positive.
My bad. Sorry.
This doesn't sound positive.
We'll balance it out. The worst starter on the offense.
Oh my God. You're leading me right to the answer basically at this point. Okay. Let's just say Aaron Banks is the right guard. Aaron Banks, just because I don't know anything about what he's going to do at the NFL level. I think you're trying to lead me to another answer, which I'm not going to say.
I'm not.
Okay.
I swear I'm not. I swear I'm not.
All right. I know the answer that's in my mind. I'm sure the answer that I'm not looking at the comments.
Don't say
I'm sure they're.
I'm not going to say it. I think we're on the same wavelength, and I'm not going to say that either.
Right. So I'm going to say Aaron Banks just because, and it's not that he's bad. It's just because we've never seen him take an NFL snap. That's it. That's my most diplomatic answer right there.
I think it's the correct answer. Whoever is at right guard, because they've proven nothing. I'm not going to say the other thing that you were thinking I was going to say either. I think the reason I harp on that person so much is the position he plays, where he was drafted. But I'm not necessarily saying that he's the worst starter on the team. I think he might have been last year. Who I'm not naming right now. But overall, if he's playing at his normal weight, he should be fine. I'm going to go with the left guard, Laken Tomlinson. I think from what I've seen with Aaron Banks on film, I think he's going to be a better pass protector. Although he hasn't proven it yet. I think he's just going to be better than Laken Tomlinson. This is a projection, and I know this is going to be hypocritical down the line because I hate when some people make projections on other players. But I'm going to say Laken. I think Laken was the guy who got Jimmy Garoppolo hurt last year. Laken isn't as valuable in the run game as the right tackle is. And he has his own issues in pass protection, even though I know they always say they like him and they always give him the award for the Bob McKittrick award for the best offensive. I don't get it, but I'm going to say Laken.
I think that the reason that I didn't go to him was because I'm a little bit more optimistic to the Alex Mack signing. Not that there's going to be stability at center, calling out the protections. You know, your book ended with Trent Williams and Alex Mack, both very experienced in the scheme. I have to believe that is going to lead him to be improved. So that's why I didn't say him. I was thinking it had to be somebody from the offensive line, right? It's not going to be it's not going to be quarterback, not going to be wide receiver, not going to be tight end. So it had to be one of those guys. In the terms of Laken, he was a little bad last year, but I think that when you get that stability around you is where you're going to see some improvement. So the only reason I picked Aaron Banks is just because I've never seen him take an NFL snap.
True.
College is cool. That looks good. But, I just didn't want to say the other guy because
that's true.
I can't say that right now. That still wouldn't be completely factual right now to say that.
You also could say the center, Alex Mack. He got some mediocre grades from Pro Football Focus, which we all respect. And he's a little older. So I don't know. It seems to me like the Niners starting lineup on offense is quite good. Depth, not sure. They lost Justin School. Do they have a swing tackle? I don't know, but it seems like their starting lineup is pretty good. So that's what I want. That's why this was a positive. It was a positive take. That's what I was saying. Oh, well, the other thing I wanted to say, viewers, if you have some among the recognized awards that you would like us to address, I mean, Jason isn't prepared for this anyway. Let's just throw them at him and see what he says. Me too. Dylan has one. He beat me to it. Good idea. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Who do you think this team's biggest X factor for making the playoffs and why? It's a good question. Who's the X factor on this team? The guy who has a wide range of outcomes in terms of what he could do this. He could give you nothing, or he could be one of the key players on the team and be the reason why they're pushed over the top.
This feels like a cop-out, but Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd can literally give you nothing, or he can give you what they thought he was brought in here to do, which I believe is closer to a Chase Claypool role in this offense, because they have three receivers as well. They have a guy who profiles similarly to Brandon Ayuk. Juju Smith-Schuster is an underneath guy. Chase Claypool takes those bump passes, those jump balls, and you line them up wherever you want. So Jalen Hurd has to be the X factor. He could put this offense over the top if he's utilized in that way, because now you have no way to stop all of the people on this offense when they're healthy. So I'm going to say Jalen Hurd. Seems like an easy answer.
I think that's the right answer on offense. I'm going to go defense just to balance it out. D Ford. I mean, expectations couldn't be lower for him. If he played 0 snaps next season, you'd be like, it sounds about right. So if he came out and gave him 8 sacks somehow miraculously, then that'd be an X factor. No one's expecting that. So
that'll push the defense back up to that place that it was in 2019. I still have expectations of them being top 10, top 12. That'll push them in that top 5 realm if D Ford is able to give them those 8 sacks that you just talked about.
Who do you think has better odds of actually contributing this year? Jalen Hurd, D Ford.
My goodness, that is tough. I don't know why I'm going to say this. It's probably going to be wrong. I'll probably get roasted for it. Probably Jalen Hurd. What he's coming back from, the ACL, we have data of people being able to bounce back from that. Yeah. What D Ford has been dealing with, he's been dealing with his entire career, and it came to a head last year. So I don't know who has a proven track record. Yes, D Ford, we know that. But I think that Jalen Hurd has a better chance to bounce back from an ACL tear than D Ford does from a back injury, which he shouldn't be practicing at all type stuff.
Okay, final follow-up. Do you think D Ford will ever play again?
Yes, let's be optimistic. Yes, I think he will play. Yeah, I think he will play. I just don't think that you're ready to see him in anything other than the role that you saw in 2019 of straight up third downs, and just now that I think that's really where you're going to see him, is in obvious passing downs.
Love it. Okay, back to the positivity. We're starting on defense.
I don't want to say this because I really like the kid. I really do.
It's a good defense.
Emmanuel Mosley.
I was gonna say that too.
It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with him. It has more to do with what I believe of Jimmy Ward, Kwaski, Jason Verrett.
Let's clarify real quick. Are we saying like nickel defense, like not Azeez Al-Shaair or Demetrius Flanagan's full?
So
whoever?
I don't think That's not base. So
They're not.
yeah, I'm thinking about base guys.
K1 would be a starter. Okay.
K1's a starter,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
And I really got close to, you almost led me to either Al-Shaair or even he's a great Greenlaw or something like that.
Right.
But I didn't want to get there because I don't think that that's true. I definitely believe that it's Emmanuel Mosley, but that's no slight at him. I really, if anything, I think that that's more proof of how top heavy this defense is and what I really think of the other guys, Javon Kinlaw, Armstead, all those guys. So I really think that it's not a slight, but if you're asking me, it's probably Emmanuel Mosley right now.
I like Mosley too. He's solid and he matches up well. I'll never forget his first start was against the Browns. He had to cover Odell Beckham Jr. and he did a great job. It's just that he can't match up with bigger wide receivers at all. He can't cover DeAndre Hopkins. He can't cover DK Metcalf. He can't cover a lot of the guys he has to face in this division. He's limited. But again, like on the offense, if your worst starter is Emmanuel Mosley or your worst starter is Aaron Banks, that's a good starting lineup. Seems like a good offense and defense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Is there anyone else in the conversation? I mean, I guess Javon Kinlaw until he proves something, although I think we all think he's a pretty good player. Maybe Tart because of the lack of availability. But no, I think it's Emmanuel Mosley. So let's move on. All right. Who is the voice of the offense? And by voice, I mean, like in the past, it was Joe Staley. On defense, it was Richard Sherman. It's someone who speaks for himself, but also the whole offense. Has the license to talk for the whole group and even for the team. In your opinion?
George Kittle. Look, sometimes he's overprotective of Jimmy Garoppolo, but I really think that he's the guy that stands in the box, and I believe that he's the heartbeat of the offense. People rally around him, they rally around his energy, so that's why I'm going to say I can't say Trent Williams because Trent Williams isn't somebody who's very vocal. It doesn't seem like, there's videos of him talking to the offensive line and setting them up and stuff like that, but it's George Kittle. He's the one who is front and center for this team on offense. Like it's basically, if we're going to do both of them, then I know my answer for the defense is actually pretty simple. On offense, I think it's George Kittle. It's just based on him being front and center with the media, him being so candid about protecting his quarterback. And, I think the guys really rally around his energy. I think you saw a little bit more energy bouncing his team, even last year when the games didn't really matter down the stretch. When Kittle was there, everybody else looked like they were a little bit more jacked up. Like when you see George Kittle be out for a few games and then come back one game and immediately lay somebody out on a block in his first play, you're like, look at this guy. He's running through a wall, and that's what I think. That's the sort of effect he has on the offense.
That's a good answer. I'm going to go with someone else. I feel like he definitely is the heartbeat of the offense, the soul of the offense, and he speaks for the offense. But a lot of the questions he gets are about himself. He talks about himself a lot. It's not his fault. I'm just saying, I'm thinking someone like, if you ask George Kittle about other players in the team, will he tell you the truth? Or will he pump everyone up? He pumped Jimmy up forever.
I think so. Yeah.
So I want, like, to me, the thing about Joe Staley is you almost felt like he was telling you the truth. You could really believe him. Same with Richard Sherman. He wouldn't pump up someone who didn't deserve it. So I want to say, I think that Alex Mack, from the little I've heard, can step into that role the way that Richard did quickly. He's 36 years old. He talks for everyone. But I think if it's not him, the guy it's been the last few years is Kyle Juszczyk, honestly. They always put him in front of the team, and he's never gets questions about himself because what are you going to ask him? He's the fullback. He doesn't get the ball. So I think it's been Juszczyk for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one, actually. That's actually one that I really think of. And because he's so utilized and because they look to him and they always put him, they've sacrificed the 3 wide receiver sets because they have to keep Juszczyk on the field. Right. So I do think that. I think that, and he's another one of those guys that when they do those press tours, they go around, and they send him around for him to say all the right things and cause the offense and things like that. So that's not a bad one, honestly. I didn't think of that one.
It should be Jimmy Garoppolo because he's the quarterback. It's always should be the quarterback, and it should be Trey Lance soon. But I think it's Juszczyk. Who's texting you?
Nobody.
Okay. All right. Sorry. All right.
Sorry.
Okay. Voice of the defense.
Fred Warner. That one's simple. Yeah, that's simple. Honestly, you listen to him talk after OTAs, and he could totally take the entire route of, man, I don't want to practice. I don't have a contract. put me off on the side. But no, he's on there taking every single snap. Everybody effuses all this praise on him. When you hear Aaron Rodgers say stuff like best in the game, I think it's very simple that this team rallies around him. He's the heartbeat. He's the pulse of this defense. He's the guy who calls out all of the protections at most of the time. And, again, I expect that this is going to be his best year under DeMeco Ryans, especially because he's a linebacker. So I thought this was pretty simple as Fred Warner. I mean, I bet you have a better answer.
No, I don't have a better answer. I'm just trying to give a different answer to enlarge the discussion. You gave the right answer. It's just,
but you should go first then, so then I could try to come up with a different one.
Nah, you have to go first. It's my show. Sorry. No. So here's the thing with Fred Warner. I agree. He's the voice of the defense. He's the leader of the defense. He speaks for everyone. He took it over from Fred Warner. I just feel like I don't get anything from him as a reporter. Like, I never quote Fred Warner because it's like quoting the defensive coordinator. He said he knows exactly what to say, what not to say. He's too polished. So honestly, the guy who I go to say the truth, to tell it how it is, there's two people. One, Jimmy Ward could do it. He just doesn't get enough exposure in front of the media he doesn't get the questions. He could do it. The other one is Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa has a very large view of football and will tell you exactly what's going on with the team. He's often right. It's very interesting.
So you believe that they listen to him? I mean, see, all I have is glimpses from the outside on press conferences and things like that. I don't really have that intel. See, me giving Fred Warner as the answer seems like the obvious answer. But if those are good comparisons because you know a little bit more than I do.
No, you gave the right answer. I'm just giving additional answers. I think from my perspective, I like hearing Nick Bosa's explanation, especially after a loss. Fred Warner will give the official explanation because he's the team captain. Nick Bosa freelances, and he's allowed to because everyone considers him the best player on the team. Even George Kittle says he's better than me. He's the best player on the team. They look at him as this prodigy who has bloodlines and knows what the hell he seems to know what the hell he's talking about. So Nick Bosa is a dark horse. He's not the right answer, but I just want to say something different. Nick Bosa. Let's move on because we got like about 17 of these, and I'm going to keep you for the next 2 hours. The most overrated player on the 49ers.
Why are we doing this? I thought it was going to be positive. Good.
It will be.
Overrated player on the team. Offense, defense?
The whole team.
All right. God, you're going to get me killed. Deebo Samuel.
Ooh, interesting.
So listen.
No, that's a fair answer.
I got a lot of pushback around the time when Deshaun Watson was on the table. And people literally looked me in my face and said, no way you include Deebo Samuel in any trade for Deshaun Watson. So you mean to tell me that a wide receiver who is often injured, doesn't run all the routes, is utilized in a way of the best way that they can utilize him, and this is no slight at Deebo Samuel, is the deal breaker in getting a franchise quarterback? That's what I mean by overrated. It's almost like a large portion of this fan base has you do not touch Deebo Samuel. There's no way you can ever trade him. There's no way
better than AJ Brown.
Better than yeah. They got taken over AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, and we're fine with that. Ooh. I think it's Deebo Samuel.
I didn't think of that, but you're absolutely right. I mean, he's rated very, very high off of one season of production. That wasn't even as good as a lot of other people. Okay, I'm going to go with someone else. And you're not saying Deebo's bad. You're just saying he's overrated.
No, okay? I just, again, for what he's asked to do, and I understand the offense in 2019 when he was on the field for a large portion was great. A lot of that has to do with the running game, and a lot of that is the problems that he causes when he has the ball in his hands. But you look at the routes that he runs, how successful he is on them, and especially when you talk about the injuries, the way people talk about Deebo Samuel in this fan base, it's almost like you're talking about a guy that cannot be touched, it has to be a lifetime 49er. I love him. I love the style play, but you guys, when I had people tell me there's no way you trade Deebo Samuel for Deshaun Watson when that was an idea, that's the deal breaker, Deebo Samuel. If that's what the Texans wanted at the time to get Deshaun Watson, I'll pack Deebo Samuel's bags myself. What are we talking about here? So that's what I mean when it comes to that.
Great answer. Good player, overrated. I'm going to say someone who's also very good and more overrated in my opinion. Nick Bosa. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential to be the best player in the league because he does have the potential to do that. But the fact is, he's rated as a top 20 player in the league right now. He was rated top, 17 in the NFL by his peers, by his freaking peers. 17 after 1 year and 9 sacks. I think that's a little much. I'm not saying he can't get there or won't get there, but he's still looked at as a premium elite player. He's missed 1 year, played 1 year, 9 sacks. I think people are getting a little ahead of themselves just because they feel like it's an obvious projection. Well, he has to stay healthy and prove it. One more surgery, and the whole thing is in jeopardy. So I'm going to say people have gotten a little ahead of themselves on Nick Bosa because it seems like an inevitability that he's going to get there.
See, the reason that I have a tough time saying that is because when Nick Bosa was healthy, he was one of the best in the game. At no point is Deebo Samuel ever one of the best in the game. And that's where I'll push back on that. And again, it's not about me thinking Deebo's bad. It's about how this fan base overrates what he does. And that's really what it is more than anything. And I still believe that Deebo Samuel can do more. He's just a product of, you know what he's a product of. So I don't have to say.
No, absolutely. Though the Bosa thing reminds me a little bit of the Kaepernick thing. Like Kaepernick had a great first half a season. I mean, 2012 was amazing and people got really excited. You know, Jaworski said he was going to be the best quarterback of all time. And I feel like sometimes the lesson there was like, why don't we just let him prove it? We don't necessarily have to call it after 8 starts or 16 starts. And I think there's a little bit of that going on with Nick Bosa because it looks obvious, but he still has to prove it. And I think he definitely could end up being a top 10 player in the NFL, but I wouldn't put anyone in that area after 17 games. I just wouldn't.
I mean, so that's valid. It's just like when I've seen
he could be there next year. He could be there next year. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. All right, let's get back to the positivity. Best run defender on the entire team.
Right now?
Yeah.
Probably Fred. I mean, he's the best player on their defense, and I feel like that's a cop-out. But you know what? I'll project for next year. Javon Kinlaw.
Okay.
So the one thing that I really, really loved, obviously everybody wants sacks, especially when you're coming in and replacing DeForest Buckner. But you could see the flashes in the Giants game. He's tossing 2 guys apart to get into the lane. Even that Washington game, I forget, it was Peyton Barber, something like that, had the ball, and he literally tossed the defender aside, and he got in there, and he got his arms around him and knocked him back for a tackle for loss, and he did his celebration. I think it will be Javon Kinlaw, but right now, it's just Fred is so good at reading his keys, understanding what he's seeing on defense, that he's always in the best position. So I feel like that's a cop-out. So I don't want to say Fred. That's why I'm going to say Javon Kinlaw. And I think that this year you're really going to see Javon Kinlaw take that spot once he gets in those advantageous matchups. You'll have Bosa, you'll have whoever on the other side. If it is D Ford and they're able to be effective, then you'll even see more from him. But I believe that Javon Kinlaw is going to take a big step this year, and a part of that is going to be run defense. And I think that that's where he's going to be. He's going to end up being a better run defender than he is a pass rusher.
Pass rusher, agree.
Yeah, and I think that people don't want to hear that because when you are taking the place of DeForest Buckner, they wanted that. But I don't think that that's what his career trajectory is going to be. You're going to wind up seeing him be noted more for his run defense. I believe in that.
Yeah, agree. Okay, that's a great answer. I'm going to go with someone else, and I'm not going to go with Fred Warner. Although Fred Warner is the best player on the defense, I feel like what makes him elite is his coverage. He's very good against the run and the best in coverage. So I'm not going to go with Fred Warner. I'm going to go with – I want to give props to someone that I don't give props to very much. Eric Armstead.
Okay.
Eric Armstead is a handful as a base DN. You put him against a tight end or an offensive tackle on the strong side. He just jackknifes that dude in the backfield. He sets the edge. He doesn't get moved. He's really good as a run defender, especially he can't play D tackle as a run defender because he's so high cut and tall. But on the end, he's probably the biggest DN. I mean, he's a handful. And I know it's hard to stomach that the Niners are spending about $20 million a year on a run stuffer, but that's what he is. I mean, the sacks he'll get are the kind of sacks that Kerry Hyder would get. Deep in the down, guy is flushed his way because they're running away from Nick Bosa or something like that. So he could give you sacks, but he even said it when he got signed. He's like, I want to be the best run defender in the league. I wouldn't say he's that, but he is a very good run defender, and he deserves credit. So, Eric.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
And so look at the potential they have on that D line to stop the run. Big dudes. We didn't even mention DJ Jones. DJ Jones, a hell of a run defender.
He just won't have the snaps to be the main run defender, I think. There'll be a rotation, but I think Kinlaw is going to be on the field a lot more.
Agreed. The best running back on the team.
It's probably Raheem Mostert. Probably.
I think so too.
But I really want to say Trey Sermon, even though I can't because I've never seen him play in the NFL. I just think that his skill set is more suited for a longer career and to more games.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea of him being the guy in between the tackles and having Mostert go back to that 8 to 10 touch role where he can really do damage and can keep himself fresh. And that's really when this offense was humming, when, Tevin Coleman would get those 2-3 yard gains. Not saying that, Trey Sermon's not going to just get 2 or 3, he'll probably get a little bit more. But I think that he was his most effective when they were using him that way. Now, obviously that changed when he just rolled the hot hand the rest of the way, Kyle Shanahan, and just played Raheem Mostert the entire way. So I'll say Raheem Mostert now, but I kind of want to hedge my bet and say Trey Sermon because I think that he can do it for every down. But I'll say Raheem Mostert because he's the most experienced and he's the one that I actually know, has the track record.
I'm sticking with Mostert. I'm still team Mostert. I know he got hurt last season. He missed the games and it was disappointing. But the way I look at him is it's his last year on the team. They're paying him like almost $4 million. They probably won't bring him back next year. And he, say what you want, averages 5 yards per carry for his career. No, even in bad years. So I still think they should push the envelope with Raheem Mostert. Not 17 carries a game, but I would be cool with 13. And I still feel that if everything breaks right for him this year, he could have a Chris Johnson type season, a CJ 2K type season, because I think that's his skill set. I don't know if he can put it together and not get hurt, but if he gets hurt in the game, it's football, man, and you're not going to be in the team next year. So I can kind of live with it. I don't think they should baby Mostert this year. I think they should throw him out there, and if he gets hurt, all right, well that's the next team's problem. Sorry.
I agree with that premise because he's probably not going to be back next year. So why not try to just, get all the tread off the tires. And I think that there is a little bit of a narrative that is being pushed, as soon as a running back gets closer to 30, that he's like completely done. And that's not all the way true, but not everybody's
300 carries in his career. Yeah, he's got nothing.
And not everybody's Adrian Peterson and other guys like that. So it's tough to say. So I think that's where the 30-year-old thing comes in.
Yeah.
Is because there's only been a few guys who have been able to do it, for really, really well. But at the same time, I think it has to be mostly just based on what we know.
He's got fresh legs. Remember Chris Johnson? I think that year that he ran for 2,000 yards, he ran the ball 358 times. League was a different place back then.
Yes, sir.
The biggest bargain on the 49ers.
Jason Verrett. I didn't even have to think about that. Jason Verrett.
That's the right answer.
Even if it's a year where unfortunately things don't break right as far as injuries go, what you got from him for a 1-year deal based off of what he did last year, which could be defined as an all-pro season, and if he's as healthy as he is healthy, he's healthier than he's ever been, right? He's coming into camp for the first time in his career with no injuries or anything like that. If he is able to keep that health, then it's Jason Verrett hands down because he has a chance to be an all-pro.
Yeah, that's the right answer. That's what I was going to go with. Let me just add some other names for the honorary mentions. Fred Warner until he signs his extension. Jaquiski Tart. You know what he's making this year?
Nothing.
Like $900K? Nothing.
And it's a lot of them are incentives, and that's him betting on himself. So that's why I don't know if you were on the show yesterday when I made my bold prediction at the end about, all right, so what was going to be something that could be defined as a future cold take. And I said, I think this is the year that Jaquiski Tart plays more games than he ever has, plays 14, 15 games, and makes his first Pro Bowl. I really think that because he is betting on himself, and I'm going to bet on a guy who took less money to stay, and he knows the system. And I think that when you hear what he said with the press conference when it comes to what DeMeco Ryans was telling him about blitzing more, you're going to see him used a lot more in 2017, like he was in 2017, up on the line, tackles for losses. It's all about injuries. That's the only thing that really can stop him.
I would also add Dre Greenlaw. That guy's making less than Richie James.
Yep.
And he's a starter. So Dre Greenlaw is another honorary mention. Waruna Pereira says, Jason, watch out for the next motivational video coming out from Debo. It's going to be you.
There was only one or two answers it could be. That's it. And no answer that was given to that right there is going to be liked. I could have said anybody and everybody would have hated it. So it doesn't make sense. It is what it is.
I brought Jason on this show so everyone would hate him because too many people like him and I wanted to change the perception.
Trust me. More people hate me than you think, bro, for no reason. Like I said, I can get on this stream and tell you guys 2 + 2 is 4 and I'll have somebody on Twitter. What do you mean 2 + 2 is 4? How is it not 5? Idiot.
I love that.
I'm like, all right.
That's the best part about engagement. All right. The other side of the coin, the biggest ripoff on the team, the most overpaid player. And not like over the last few years, just right now, in 2021, biggest ripoff?
Oh my goodness, this one's gonna be tough. Oh, I got a good answer. Robbie
You're gonna
Gold.
say Robbie Gold.
Robbie Gold. Robbie Gold. Look. When you hold out at a position that statistically does not matter. If you think running backs don't matter, kickers don't matter. Especially for a guy who doesn't even drill anything 45 and out. Okay? Yeah. You want to talk about the clutch gene? Cool. That's fine. But he makes kicks that league average kickers make.
Yeah.
Okay? And don't bring up that one game with McLaughlin. Don't bring that up. Because when you watch Vizcaíno come in for one game and drill them out from 45 and out right down the middle, that proves the point right there.
Yeah.
When you can only make what a league average kicker makes, you shouldn't be making top dollar, and you certainly shouldn't be signed to a multi-year deal at 40-41 after you tried to hold out and didn't even want to be here. The easiest answer I could give is Robbie Gold. Easiest answer.
Okay. The thing about the Niners is that there's a lot of candidates for this award. A lot. I mean, D Ford's a natural right off the bat, but I'm going to go with the big one, the big kahuna, Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, sure, he's got a 22-8 record and he plays sometimes and his numbers are pretty good, but he's the fifth highest paid player in the NFL this year, man. Fifth highest paid. Yes, it's Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Cousins, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ben Roethlisberger.
How is it not Patrick Mahomes?
Because Patrick Mahomes renegotiated his contract this offseason. His cap hit is nothing. His cap percentage is 4%, and that's why they kept Frank Clark. Frank Clark's cap number is like 22. Frank Clark is like one of the top 10 highest paid players in the league in terms of cap number this year. Wow. So Jimmy, that's a lot of money for a guy who's never going to be worth that much money. And the problem with him is when he's hurt, that's just $27 million in dead money that you can't move, you can't use. Jimmy's astoundingly expensive. It's like buying a pretty nice car and spending $200,000 on it. It's like, wow, man, you could have really done a lot better for your money at that price point.
See, the thing is player. The contract when it was first signed, it didn't look bad because of the way it was shaking out, right? It came out to less than like 12th or 15th in the league, so it wasn't bad. You know, this is the year where it starts to, creep up. And I'm not going to – I can't say that I completely agree with that, but I understand your argument. I'm going to stay away from that topic just because it's so toxic, bro. Again, he who must not be named, I think I'm going right back to that. On Twitter, on any of my shows, I do not want to talk about this guy anymore at all.
Okay, good call. In that sense, let's have one more question about him. What is the number one thing keeping him, who must not be named, on this team, in your opinion? What's the number one thing keeping him here? Because honestly, they brought his replacement in. Mm-hmm. He's a dead man walking, to use a crass phrase. We all know that he's history soon. So why is he still here?
Well, I think it goes back to my conspiracy theory of Kyle Shanahan keeping him here to give himself more time because he reset his timeline with this organization. When you trade for Trey Lance, you understand that this is going to be something that you have to let him see through for years. And if Jimmy Garoppolo plays well, then his team win games. And also it pushes off that sort of development. And he doesn't have to answer those questions right away, or he doesn't have to rush that process. So I will say that, one, I think this organization is afraid of just immediately turning it right over to Lance. And they want to go with something that is very familiar. And I think it's a little bit of Kyle being able to reset his timeline. Also, because if Jimmy Garoppolo, doesn't play well, then cool, you can turn it over to Lance. But I don't think that he wants to go right to Lance right away. I think he wants to take his time, and I think that's really what has kept him around. And then when you point to the record, it almost seems easy. It almost seems very easy. That's what I was
going to say. It's the record, right? It's the record. Because if it's all about Lance, as it should be, he's the future. You've given up on Jimmy. Lance is here. You traded everything for him. Then Jimmy's too expensive to be a bridge quarterback. You don't need 27. You could get Andy Dalton. You could get Mitchell Trubisky. You could go cheap and then just say, well, Trey Lance will be ready by week 8 or whatever. But you can't just kick out a dude who's 22-8.
And you have to remember, Kyle Shanahan needs to have a winning season.
He needs to have a winning season.
He needs to have a winning season. Not for me. You know how everybody else is going to start looking at this if they have another season where they don't play well up to expectations. And even if it has to do with injuries, it's still just the noise is just going to get louder. So he has to do what he can to win as many games as he can this year. So
And I mean, some people say like, well, it's a Super Bowl roster. He took him to the Super Bowl once before. Yo, he didn't play well in the playoffs. Did he? His quarterback rating was 75. He was terrible against the Vikings. He didn't do anything against the Packers. And he had a very bad fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. So I don't think that's why he's here, because he wins in the regular season. And they're not going to just throw that away right now, just yet, I would think.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, and all those other things definitely contribute to it. But I agree with you.
All right. This is the last topic in the show. We've gone through 11 topics in 35 minutes. I told you I wasn't going to take too much of your time. It was a lightning round. It was a lightning round.
Uh-huh.
What does Trey Lance have to do to win the job by week 1? Realistically, what does he have to do? I mean, is it enough to play better than him in practice?
No, I don't think so. Jimmy Garoppolo would have to fall flat on his face in practice, fall flat on his face in preseason games, and Trey Lance would have to be perfect at almost everything. I just really don't see the path to him getting there. I really think that they're dug in and they're just going to start Jimmy, which is no bad thing. It's just, again, my hesitance towards this becomes, how do you say that you want to develop somebody who hasn't played in a year by sitting him a whole other year? That's the part. Look, I understand the whole argument about, man, you don't want to shake the kid's confidence.
Yeah.
He needs to play tackle football.
Yeah.
He needs to play in this league. He needs to get that speed down. So another year, does it mean that it's a death sentence for him? No, not at all. But I have a hard time with the whole, he needs to sit to develop. That's the part that really, I don't jive with. Sitting is going to help you develop? I don't know about that one. Aaron Rodgers sat, right? Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years, but they overhauled his mechanics.
Right. Also, I have another thing to point in this discussion. That was pre-rookie wage scale, man. To me now, if you have a quarterback on the rookie wage scale, you don't want to waste a week of that.
You're right.
You don't want to waste a week of that.
And a team that is the most dangerous is a team that is loaded just like this roster, and they're not paying the quarterback. But here's the thing, and this is why you can't get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Even if you free up all that money, Grant, who is there out there to be brought in? There's no free agents that are going to require all that money.
I mean, I think there's good, starting caliber 30-plus-year-old role players they could get that would only increase depth. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I'd rather have but I'm this way. But yeah,
you're still rolling over. You're still rolling over a majority of any money that you
do that too.
You save. So that's really what it would be. If they make a move like this, it's not to bring any players in, because let's be realistic. The guys that are hanging around waiting for calls, they're not going to be asking for much money. So it's not like there's a $27 million.
Gilmore. I mean, he's got a $16 million cap hit. No one's going to be able to get him. If the Niners get rid of Jimmy, now they have $40 million in cap space. They could do whatever they want. Now they're already throwing away draft picks, but what's one more?
They could. I think that if this was ever going to get done, it should have been done already. I think right now they're just set and they're dug in their ways of just this being straight up Jimmy's job until it isn't.
Well, let's look at it this way. It seems to me that if Trey Lance is neck and neck with Jimmy in practice, and everyone knows it, and then they get to the preseason and Trey Lance looks really good, what are you waiting for? I mean, I understand it's rough. Let's say they just give Trey Lance the job. He outplays Jimmy in preseason games and practices, which isn't the real thing. And then he gets to week 1 and loses in Detroit. Then what do you do? Because then people will be like, well, Jimmy wouldn't have lost, right? Jimmy wouldn't have lost. So you almost have to let Jimmy go out there and lose the job, right?
Yeah. And like I said, right now you're not trading him because it's already past June 1st. He's going to be on the roster week 1. Him playing is only going to boost his trade value. And then you can, if he plays really well, then you could really see a team getting desperate and sending a high second or a first for him or something like that, depending on how the market shakes out. So yeah, this is just, this, I feel like we've talked about it a lot, but I just think that right now this team is pretty dead set on having Jimmy go out there. And it's just the writing's on the wall. If they were going to do that. And again, I hate the idea of, like you said, about being a bridge, but I hate the idea of a $27 million backup. I hate that idea. That's awful. If you're going to have him as a backup, then you should have got rid of him. I'm sorry.
I don't like the idea of a $27 million player in 2021. The cap count came down. I feel like the reason he's on the team is because the Niners are saying we have a Super Bowl roster. He gives us the chance to win a Super Bowl. You can't expect a rookie to take us there. Man, I don't think you can expect a team that has that much money tied up in one player who's not that good to go anywhere. I mean, they'll make the playoffs if things go well, but just compare their roster composition to the Bucs. I mean, Brady renegotiated. He's making 5.8% of the cap this year. That's not fair. It's not. Like, if you look, a lot of these quarterbacks have renegotiated because the cap came down. There's a ton of quarterbacks making like less than $12 million. Tannehill, a bunch of guys. And then you got Jimmy making 27. It's like, and I think the Niners haven't really given themselves the best chance to win the Super Bowl this year. And maybe they should be thinking more about 2022 anyway. Because once that rookie gets into year 2 and year 3, you should be there.
So, and this is the thing, again, this is an episode where I'm just going to get killed, whatever. I never expected the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. And I don't know why fans are talking to us about Super Bowl. You should be focused on getting into the playoffs and then whatever happens from there. But for people to come out of their face and say, 49ers are headed to the Super Bowl or they're a Super Bowl contender, is that more just because the NFC is weak? And you really don't have many teams that yet. Well, you really don't have many teams yet.
They signed so many one-year free 30-year-old free agents. It looked like they were making that revenge tour 2.0. But no, the NFC is wide open, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And especially because Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back. It's Tampa, and everyone else is just trying to catch them at this point because that roster is loaded. They're all back. They didn't lose anyone. And after that, the Saints are gone. Seattle isn't the team that they were. They're pretty much either – this is the make or break year.
Count out the Saints. Don't count out the Saints. Don't, because that's a really good team.
Is it?
Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0 with that team. It's a good roster. It's a very good roster with a very good coach. Okay. I feel like the difference between the Saints and the Niners is that the Saints don't have Jimmy Garoppolo on their roster. Like Taysom Hill isn't – I would take Trey Lance over Taysom Hill, but it's the same kind of idea what they're trying to do in New Orleans. Cheap at quarterback, mobile dude. It's just not Trey Lance. It's Taysom Hill. But he played decent for them last year.
He played all right. They won a bunch of games. They're but then they went right back to Breeze. So I don't know. The Saints don't really scare me. It's just the idea, and I still believe that Jameis is going to be the starter. I don't see how they can even try this with Taysom Hill. I really don't get that portion.
I think Arizona is a team that people are sleeping on, and it's all because no one respects Cliff at all.
That's it, Grant. I cannot get behind this guy, and you are not gonna. Cliff. You're not gonna get me scared by you bringing in the mummy of AJ Green, the ghost of JJ Watt, the corpse of Malcolm Butler. I'm not nervous of any of those additions. This would have been the firest team in 2012. This team would have been amazing in 2012. Cliff Kingsbury doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know how to run offense.
On AJ Green, but hold on. Are you really? Wait a second. You're writing off JJ Watt right now?
I am.
Wait a second. Okay.
As far as
16 games last year. He's 32. I mean, he better be washed, because if he's not, then the Cardinals have the best front seven in the division. That front seven is nasty.
Well, Chandler Jones coming back, and Chandler Jones over there, yeah. But that was the first time that JJ Watt played 16 games in how long?
Yeah. Let me tell you. Well, since 2018, and then so he did it in 2015 and 2018, and then 2020. He's had some lean years, but
yes.
Hey man, so yeah, you're right. It's possible. He's a question mark, but if he has one more year next to Chandler Jones, that defense, that front seven is not as nice, and then you don't really need the secondary people to be all pros.
Well, I mean, Budda Baker is great. I'm not downplaying them. I'm just talking about, once all these additions started to come in of these older players, people started freaking out. Oh, here comes Arizona. I'm not worried about all that. And again, it has nothing to do with Kyler or those other guys. Cliff Kingsbury's a joke. I mean, what other coaches allowed to be? What other coaches allowed to be out here with the way that they lose games? And he wasn't even successful in college.
If he doesn't win this year, he should get fired, because I really think that the Cardinals have a better roster than the Seahawks.
You could definitely make that argument. Absolutely. I do. 100%. 100%.
Yep. And even the Rams, I mean, the Rams have 7 great players, but after that, I don't know.
Yeah, they had to lose a lot of people. That's the thing. And the reason that I still think that the Rams are an issue is just because when you pair McVay with Stafford, it's going to get ugly. That offense is going to be really tough to stop. Whereas last year, the defense was number one, and they're definitely going to take a step back. But they still have the best football player in the world, I think, Aaron Donald, and the best cover corner or number 2 cover corner in the league in Jalen Ramsey.
So I just want to come back to Lance real quick. If Lance can take this job before the trade deadline, and the Niners can get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo's contract and maybe just add 1 or 2 players at the deadline, they could go. I don't care that Trey Lance is a rookie. If he shows that he's good, doesn't have to be great. This team is a Super Bowl contender because the NFC is wide open, and this roster is really good. I think it's close. It's all about Trey taking the job sooner than later, and the Niners getting something for that $27 million, other than Jimmy. That's all I'm saying.
I think that this team's a playoff team for sure.
Right now, I agree.
Super Bowl contender is a little rough for me. That one's a little too much, but again, I can see the argument. The NFC is wide open. Some things break your way. Injuries happen to other teams other than the 49ers.
The best NFC team is dependent on a 44-year-old quarterback. That's the conundrum. What if he gets hurt? What if he turns 44 and starts playing like he's 44? It's wide freaking open. I mean, the Packers, what the hell is going on in Green Bay?
Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back.
Seattle, I think, is way too top heavy, paying all that money to Russell Wilson. The same thing happens to them every year. Same thing with Minnesota, way too top heavy. The Niners could do it. The sooner they turn this team over to Trey Lance and he's ready, there's no one in their way. It's them in Arizona and a quarterback who's older than Kyle Shanahan. So, come on, Trey. We're all waiting for you, Trey.
Good points.
Leonardo says, let's say Mostert has a great season and stays healthy. He's one of the fastest players, if not the fastest in the league. Why not keep him? He really special.
Because he's 30 and he's going to want to get paid?
Yeah, but I mean, to me, he should go to the Chiefs. He would be so good on that team.
No.
Imagine. God. So, yeah, he could if the Niners could get him back like on a Jason Verrett type deal, then great. But he might get the money.
No, honestly, he's going to want to have to get paid because it's his last shot of the contract. Why would he take less right then and put more stress on his body? Yeah, so he has to go to the table and say, if he goes off this season, he'll have many suitors. Many.
Yeah, go to the Jets, man. Robert Saleh will break you off. I mean, not that way. That's what I meant. All right. Glenn Siago. I love him. That's a great name. Hey, Grant, based off what you have seen, who is the most talented defensive rookie on the team so far? Oh, here's a good positive.
Oh, there you go.
The most talented defensive rookie on the team so far.
You would know better than me.
I mean, I haven't seen enough in practice to change my mind. It's Ambry Thomas. He's very talented. He plays special teams. He played offense at Michigan. He's big. He's fast. It's definitely Ambry Thomas.
He was a wide receiver in high school. I think he scored 16, 17 touchdowns in a season or something like that. And then he moved over. So that's why Harbaugh utilized him on those jet sweeps. And the kick returning thing is great too. It's just, everybody's going to overreact to the Lenore video and say it was automatically him. But you can't just use that one video and see what happens. So.
Right. Preston Reynolds says Gilmore and maybe Malik Hooker if Jimmy G gone.
Didn't Malik Hooker either get a visit somewhere else or sign somewhere else recently? Because I have floated that idea out there too. I'm going to double check that real quick. Let me see.
I'd be good with Malik Hooker. I know he has injury issues, but
and he fits right in.
Yeah, exactly. And he's young. He would be cheap, I would think. But again, I think that'd be more
he's
of a
still
move.
Out there. Yeah, I want Steven Nelson. Why hasn't Steven Nelson been signed? Or if someone could point out that he has. Steven Nelson in corner.
Saying, man. Like, let Trey Lance win this job. Send Jimmy Garoppolo to Honolulu. And then sign Steven Nelson, Malik Hooker, Melvin Ingram.
Melvin Ingram's out there
Golden
too.
Golden Tate,
yeah. Huh? Well,
go for it.
Starting to make some sense. I'm not talking about that guy anymore. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Even only if you ask me to. So
Seth says we are definitely Super Bowl caliber. Unpopular opinion, but go look at Kyler's rookie stats versus Jimmy's stats in 2019. Kyler should have stuck to baseball.
That is completely two different situations. You were talking about one guy who's taking his first snaps in the NFL as a guy who's been patted around this league and actually played in games. No way is that comparable. And if you look me in the face right now and you want Jimmy Garoppolo over Kyler Murray, God help us all.
It seems to me also that fans don't quite understand what's going on in the NFL. It's not necessarily who has the best quarterback. It's who has the best quarterback at the cheapest rate a lot of the time. And I mean, Kyler's cheap.
Kyler was a rookie rookie. Kyler was a rookie. So here, let's play hypotheticals. Let's put Kyler Murray on the 2019 Niners in his rookie year, and let's put Jimmy Garoppolo on that Arizona team. We'll see who has better stats.
You know who wouldn't have missed that shot to Emmanuel Sanders down the middle in the Super Bowl? Kyler Murray. Also, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, Jeff Gardner. That's a layup. That was basically a layup. But what I want to say about Jimmy again, like what people understand, well, he did it in 2019. Look at his contract. Go on over the cap. Look at the cap percentages, like what he was taking up. Notice which year he was the cheapest in his contract. It was 2019. Mm-hmm. Guess what happened? They went to the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo at a modest salary is a good player, but he ain't on that. That was the best bang
for your buck. That was the best bang for your buck when it came to that. Mm-hmm.
That's what the NFL is all about. Once you put a salary cap in the league, it's all about bang for your buck. It's not necessarily about having the 8 best players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, good show, man. Thank you for being a good sport. I hope I didn't make you say things you didn't want to.
Nah. You know what? It's the first thing that comes to my mind when some of these were right there, and I was like, nope, Jay, give yourself a second to think, and you'll come through, and boom, the other ones came out, so it worked fine. Just had to make my brain work a little bit of overtime, but
There
I
was
like when
no McGlinchey slander, no Armstead slander. We were basically, and when we did say someone was the worst, we were like, just because it's a very good team. So
I got my shot in there at a kicker. Perfect. This worked out perfectly.
Yeah, Robbie Gold has to take that. Seth says Kyler had the same stats in 2020 with Hopkins, though. Okay,
hurt his shoulder. Cliff Kingsbury. Come on, what are we doing here, Seth? I'm not trying to call you out, buddy, but come on.
People are sleeping on Arizona. I'm telling you, this team is it's a good roster. Chandler Jones didn't play last year. Forget J.J. Watt. Chandler Jones is back. Marcus Golden is there. Second year of Isaiah Simmons. I don't know. Second year of DeAndre Hopkins. It's not a bad. James Conner.
Xavier Collins, right? Xavier Collins, too late. They drafted. Yeah. All right,
bad.
we'll see. We'll revisit this one and do a cold take one halfway through the season. Let's see what
happens. Yeah. We're gonna have stuff to update. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Grant.
Peace, everyone.